gets more
Sweet
applause,
sound.
or the Lions offense this year? I'll wait for your response.
Ooh, I'm excited to see Aiden Hutchinson. I've seen the clips of him going against Penei Sewell in camp, which have been very great. But the Lions offense is something that's going to be special this year. They got guys all over the field that can do a whole lot of things. Guys they brought in as free agents, guys they drafted. And I think Jared Goff, after that first game, he looked real smooth. If he can throw the ball like that, we're to be in for some good air this year.
Yeah, and you never know, and we might as well dive right into this thing. Not like they're paying us anything, but peach twisted tea is fueling my day here. So I don't know how you guys are feeling out there, but I could tell you if I was a Jets fan, there wouldn't be enough peach twisted tea to make me feel good about not the loss in the game, but the loss of the quarterback. So what do you think this actually does for the Jets?
Well, they're just lucky it wasn't for the whole year. That's all.
Yeah, really. And I mean, like, let's remember these fans got behind this replacement quarterback that's coming in before, right? Like, this isn't something new to them. He had some fun there. I mean, he had some god awful games too. But I mean, the fans liked him. They sure enjoyed him playing last year, and they know what he can bring to the game. He's got the wide receivers there that he doesn't really have to build chemistry with. Elijah Moore can be chemistry with anybody, I feel. And Corey Davis and him certainly linked up last season a few times. So.
If he doesn't work out, Geno Smith is still available.
Well, he might lose the starting job out in Seattle, but yeah, Zach Wilson had the lowest completion percentage among starting quarterbacks last year. So building the chemistry might be a little bit more important than we give it credit for. But what if they open up this knee? Because it seems like 2 to 4 weeks is optimism. If they open up the knee, this thing could be like 10 to 12 weeks. It's not going to be the season, but I mean, we're looking at either Mitchell White or we're looking at Joe Flacco, which is probably going to be Joe Flacco.
Think so? You don't think Mike White gets the call here? I mean, you guys were loving Mike White.
Mitchell White pitches for the Jays. Mike White, you're correct. Yeah,
I thought you boys were loving Mike White last year. And I know you really don't like Flacco, so I really am finding it crazy you're giving him praise over even anybody else on the team.
I don't like Flacco, but I mean, you're only as good as your last start, and I believe Mitchell White fizzled himself out, and had 4 interceptions, didn't he?
Well, this Mitchell White still pitches for the Jays. He doesn't quarterback for the Jets. But yeah,
he might as well. He might as well at this point.
He might as well.
Yeah. 2 words: Vinny Testaverde. Just bring it back.
Hey, Chad Pennington.
There you go. Yeah, Chad Pennington is probably the last quarterback that you could believe in as a Jet. I guess Mark Sanchez had his 2-year run there where he went to the AFC Championship game.
The defense carried that. We all know that.
But I mean, this is pretty tough for Zach Wilson. I mean, listen, he didn't have a good rookie season. You talked about it, right? And he's an athletic quarterback who likes to get out of the pocket and make plays on the run. That's certainly what he did at BYU. This bone bruise
really gonna.
Yeah, like this isn't going to happen. It's not going to be a smooth transition back to field. I don't think, even when he's fully healthy. I mean,
he's not going to be. He's not going to be dynamic. That's for sure. Like 2 to 4 weeks is like you can get back in the pocket and throw a ball, but can you run out of the pocket and make plays is a whole other ball game, right?
Yeah, and I don't know if anybody's even talked about like what grade. Like I'm not a doctor. What grade this type of bone bruise is, but I mean, I've had a friend who's had a bone bruise, and that was like 7 weeks before he even felt like half normal at that point. And even after that, it just feels like a super tender muscle bone area, right? And it, power off your knee when you're even throwing as a quarterback. You need to be certainly using your knees to drive. So I think this is going to be tough for Zach to come back from this season. He needed this year to really kind of supplement himself as that starting quarterback in New York. And a lot of the fans are really behind him. The GM's obviously behind his pick, of course, but this was his year to grow. They're really doing what they can to kind of surround him.
And we also know as well, like, the Jets season, it may be an 18-game season, but the Jets season's over in 6 weeks if they don't get a couple wins.
Yeah.
So he can come back after 6 weeks if he wants, but if they only have 1 win or 2 wins at that point, it's going to be pretty tough to even make any type of push at all, especially in that division. So,
isn't that shitty? Like you would say that about the Jets because historically, I mean, the Patriots were there to just completely take the division, but now the Bills are there to completely take the division.
Well, that's what I mean. The division in Miami's going to be decent too, so that's what I mean. It's going to be a tough division no matter what.
Right, and how about the fact that he was only supposed to go in for 1 series, and the only reason he went out for the second series is because the first one ended in an interception. Coach didn't want it to end like that. Sends him out, and this is a non-contact injury, so it's not something that you can blame the coach for, I suppose. But
learn how to run.
How do you sell this to the fan base that could be a little bit like if this happened to Trubisky or Tannehill or Derek Carr or I'm not sure who the quarterback is in Detroit.
He's still young, right?
that-
He's still young. You got to play
Yeah.
him. Like you have to play him, right? Like this guy has not had enough experience to be sitting in such a little amount of preseason games as it is. So, like you can't get mad about it. It's a non-contact injury. So, the way I always look at non-contact injuries is if it happened that easily, there had to have been something already wrong. Like as far as I'm concerned, maybe it wasn't like a totally obvious, but like even like in UFC and stuff, when guys break their legs and shit on leg checks or a step back or something like that, it doesn't just happen. Like there is a fracture there somewhere, or there is a weak ligament already somewhere that is just waiting for the opportunity to go. And I guess it's probably even better it happened now as opposed to in the middle of the season. But I don't know. I think it would have happened probably either way. I think at this point.
And for a guy like Zach Wilson, I mean, he's been known to like dig in the osteoporosis kind of thing. Like he's been rumored to be interested in the older females,
like hanging out with old women. Is that what you're talking about? The osteoporosis.
I know about
yeah,
that.
perhaps, like he's he was taking the wrong medicine or something, and it made his bones a little bit weaker than it. I don't know. I mean, we're grasping at straws here, but like. I don't think that's out of the question.
Should be stealing the medicine from the little cup holder thing on the top of the dresser, right?
Yeah, I didn't know this was almond milk. No.
Yeah, yeah. The guy needs real milk. He can't have the lactose-free stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, how shitty is this for Jets fans too? Like I know you mentioned when they had that 2-year stretch when Rex was there and the defense was pounding and everything, but like the Jets just have sucked for so long.
We really care about how Jets fans feel? I don't think we do.
I just feel it's just really like it's finally
really
a year they can be. It's finally they can be hyped, and like I mean, again, the division is tough. It's really difficult. It's probably going to be Buffalo coming out as number one, but really a healthy Zach Wilson there, and what they were able to add to offense, what they were able to add to defense. It could be anybody's toss-up game, division-wise, game-wise. It really can.
What?
I have a tough time betting on division games, and in AFC East, I'm going to really have a hard time this year. I don't care who they're playing against. No matter if the Bills playing the Dolphins or Bills playing the Jets.
Well, at least they will have another excuse when they have another bad season. That's all. So.
Yeah, and look, I mean, we're going to talk about bad fan bases and people that have had a hard time. So let's talk about Hard Knocks for a second, because we got a resident Lions fan on here with us, and Aiden Hutchinson's been singing, and Dan Campbell's been yelling and crying, and Jamal Williams is doing what he needs to do. But I want to know what the pulse of, the Lions Nation or Lions Pride or whatever you want to call it. I want to know how the Lions fan is feeling.
Well, I'm excited. Seeing your team on Hard Knocks, obviously, start of the season isn't the best feeling because they're on there for a reason. But like, this is the most excited I've probably been for a season in a while. We're not going to do what we did last year. We can't win 3 games or 2 games and be happy. We were in most of the games that we lost, close tight to the end. There's games that we should have had that we didn't get. Now we got to go get those games. I would say a winning season, an exciting season for Lions isn't getting first in the North. It's getting those 7-8 wins to start building with Dan Campbell. The players want to play for him, but let's see that on the field. He gets them riled up, but we got to see it on the field.
And I don't want to interrupt you, Josh, but I don't want anybody to feel like they need to adjust their volume, because Josh just said 7 or 8 wins for the Lions, and that might be concerning for a few people out there, because I don't think you're going to finish last, but 7 or 8 wins. I
really think we can be better than the Vikings, and this is the least scared I've been of in the Packers in a while. Without Devontae Adams, the Packers are going to be a different team. I know they're saying they have all these young receivers, blah, blah, blah. They're not Devontae Adams. Watch the game that the Lions play against the Packers. Who was that guy they were throwing to almost every time past the sticks? It was Devontae Adams. They don't have him, and that's going to hurt them.
So we've heard about Hutchinson singing, right? There's been lots of praise about. Okay, who did he get chipped by? Nobody wants to bring up that clip when he got put on his ass, and it took Dan Campbell a whole lot, about 40 seconds of fumbling to try and talk about the Pride getting shocked a little bit there. Who was that?
Who did he get chipped by?
Who was it? Who was it? I'm asking.
TJ Hawkinson, top 5 tight end in the league that's been playing. This is going into his 4th year now. He's an absolute stud. He's maybe the Lions' actually best target. People don't want to talk about. He's that guy. Like, you watch him block, he gets holes open for Swift, who's probably one of the top fantasy running backs in the league, and Jamal Williams is going to be that goal line 3rd down back. Man, the Lions' offense is going to be good. But did you watch Aiden Hutchinson go against Penei Sewell. I saw a few wins there, and Penei Sewell didn't get beat very often last year in games.
Yeah,
So
he definitely had some notches on his belt there, and that's something to be proud about because, as you mentioned, he's most often offensive linemen don't get talked about, and if they do, it's bad. But Penei Sewell had his name mentioned many times last year. He's one of the strongest left tackles in the game right now for sure, and he's only a second-year player, so that's saying a lot, right?
Yeah.
Any lineman that jumps into the NFL out of the draft like that, I don't care how good you are, you'll find out real quick that people are stronger in the NFL than they are in college. And it doesn't even have to be an offensive lineman. It can be a very well-established blocking tight end. And just because it happened once, it doesn't mean it's going to happen all the time. It just opens up his eyes to let people know that a lot of his little moves that he did in college, they're not going to work as well in the NFL, and you're going to have to work your ass off every snap if you want to get in the backfield. So
that's what Dan said. That's what Coach said. It's a pride thing, right?
And he seems like he's going to be a guy, and there isn't many can't miss prospects that we see on. We're watching the TV clips, we're watching the best part of everything, but he doesn't seem like he's Jadeveon Clowney.
Is this wait, hold on. This is Shane talking about a former Michigan player and giving him praise. This is crazy.
Once you leave Michigan, it's okay. But I want to know, if you're the GM of the Jaguars, how big of an asshole do you feel like right now?
They should feel awful because one of Aiden Hutchinson's, it was the second play in the game. You can go back and watch it last week. He swim moves a D lineman and gets a tackle for loss. And he's going to do that a lot for the Lions. I don't know why they basically gave the Lions the best prospect in the draft, which that never happens for us, but it seems like it just did.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you why Hutchinson's going to be able to do that a lot is because teams are going to be up by so much that they're going to be running the ball. And that's going to so we're not saying that the Lions are going to, and that's what I was saying. If we're talking 7 wins, we're probably talking about them going 0-4 in the preseason, right? We're talking 7 wins all year, right?
They're not winning.
We're including the preseason wins.
They're not winning a preseason game this year with our backup quarterback situation. If Jared Goff goes down, then yes, we'll probably lose a lot of games this year because those other 2 guys can't play. But I think during the season, you're going to see them succeed. Our receiving core improved tremendously, which is our weak part of our team last year. Chark, Jameson Williams, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, who was one of the top receivers from week 13 to 18. Now Jared Goff has those targets for him to be successful. Look what he did in LA when he had a good defense and targets.
Yeah, and you know what? St. Brown is good, and there was a few other quarterbacks that kind of made their way onto the scene this weekend. I guess we'll call it Thursday to Sunday. Who was the quarterback you're most impressed? You know what? We're going to talk about the Steelers a little bit. We're going to talk about the Titans. We're going to talk Raiders. So we don't have to worry about screen time here.
This guy is lining up the golf tees for us. Which is the quarterback that most impressed you?
No.
Which is you know what? Fellas of the rookie class that most impressed you this weekend?
No. I'm not even talking about rookie class. Include Baker Mayfield. That's fine. But what I'm saying is, I don't even think that of the rookie quarterbacks, I'm going to pick the guy who you think. So I want to hear from you guys. What do you think? What do you think of the way that the rookies were playing? Because there was a guy that stood out to me, and it was actually the guy that if the Steelers didn't go pick it, I wanted this guy.
Well, yeah, I just want to say, don't quote me before we get into that real quick. Any team that's been on Hard Knocks recently, from what I can remember, maybe with the exception of the Jets, have had close to 7 wins. I don't know. Quote me on it. Even when the Raiders were on it, they had it. I think even when who was that one team? Even Cleveland, when they were bad, I think Cleveland even had a 6-7 win season that year.
Yeah,
so
that was a good season.
There's a bit of a thing here where teams on Hard Knocks have been getting 7 or so wins. So hey, maybe it'll continue.
Hopefully so.
Yeah, right. You never know. But so we saw some guys come out there. Carroll came out there, Ritter came out there, Willis came out there. Bailey Zappi came out there. There was a lot of guys out there that were making plays, and maybe some are more impressive than others. And we can dig deep into that. But I'm curious on who stood out to you guys.
Bro, for me.
Who?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I didn't get a whole lot of time to watch every single one of them, but I did watch the Titans games just because, I got to watch them for Kalen. I did watch some of the Pittsburgh game. I would say Malik Willis looked really impressive to me, in the time he was there, because I think he was playing a little bit higher level defenses than Pickett was playing.
Agreed.
Possibly at that point, but Pickett still looked great. Don't get me wrong. But Malik Willis, like, clearly showed he's got escapability. And I literally said right after that, what's the over-under on the week that Malik Willis replaces Tannehill?
So yeah, and like I said to Josh, like, what's a successful season for the Lions, and he kind of told us. To me, if I were a Titans fan, a successful season for me would be if Willis has to come in, it's because Tannehill gets injured, not because he plays poorly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But
which could
the
very much
quarterback,
happen with how many sacks he takes.
yeah, exactly. The rookie quarterback for me was Desmond Ridder. The guy was 9 for 11. He threw the ball everywhere. He was playing against defensive players that are probably going to see a lot of snaps on Sundays. Wouldn't exactly call them like first team all pros, but he looked good. He knew the part. Even with Drake London going out, he still knew where to go, and he wasn't indecisive in any of his play calls and any of his throws. So, like I said, and Kalen will back it up, is if the Steelers were going quarterback, it was either Pickett or Ridder for me. And I mean, Pickett was a little bit stronger, but I'm glad they went with him long term. But even as a Steelers fan, successful season, exact same thing I just said to Kalen about the Titans. If Pickett has to come in, ideally it's because Trubisky gets injured, not because he struggles.
Not Mason Rudolph, right?
Bro, that throw that
Mason Rudolph's not
Trubisky
making the
had,
roster. He's not making the roster.
Yeah,
that
he'll be in
throw
the
that
practice.
Trubisky had, that touchdown throw, that was so Josh Allen, it was ridiculous. Throwing to the left and throwing to the left. You guys have known how many times I make fun of this guy who can't throw friggin' left ever. And he's rolling out to the left and does a dart into the end zone, man. Like, I don't know how much more Josh Allen-esque you could have looked if you maybe put a blue and red and white jersey on. That would have been the only difference.
Well, he did wear it, so.
Yeah, that's right.
If I was going to go to one game, I'd probably go to Jacksonville versus Cleveland. I was impressed with Trevor Lawrence. He looked better than he did last year. Maybe it's just the second year kind of feeling. But I was also going to say the least quarterback I was impressed with. I don't know when Deshaun Watson will play, but he did not play very well. I looked at the stat line. He was 1 for 4 in his first 4 throws. That's not good enough for a guy they traded all this stuff for.
So, did you hear about the chant that was going through Jaguar Stadium?
I didn't hear about the chant.
Bring back Urban Meyer?
No. So, Deshaun Watson runs on the field, and the entire stadium starts chanting, "You sick fuck."
So we're still talking about Urban Meyer then.
Well, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, the Jaguars thing, I don't know. I think Trevor Lawrence, the worst thing that ever happened to his career, and the reason he probably didn't look too happy on draft day was he knew he got drafted by the Jaguars. It wouldn't surprise me if 2 years from now he's backing up, like, say maybe he backs up Patrick Mahomes and moves on, so something like that. Like, he's going to go back up a quarterback that he knows he doesn't have to play.
Like a Blaine Gabbert.
Right. Yeah. And you know what? Like, he might find his way onto a roster. And, like, would I say Trevor Lawrence is better than Baker Mayfield? Yeah, probably. But right now, not really. Baker Mayfield, it seems like Sam Darnold has folded, and Matt Corral is nowhere near being close to being a starter in Carolina. So I think Baker Mayfield, just by the trade alone, has become the starter in Carolina. I don't know if you guys agree with that.
Yeah, he's.
I mean, Sam Darnold's seeing ghosts, and Matt Corral is just, the game's too fast for him still. So he's not really there. I really want to talk about this mess in Baltimore too, because like I told you guys before we came on there's so much football news, and we haven't been on for so long that I feel like everything is just kind of coming out. But the fact that Lamar Jackson put a deadline and he won't negotiate during the season, that makes sense. I actually respect that out of him because he's his own agent. You don't want to ruin the game plans. You don't want to do any of that stuff. But if you were Baltimore or Lamar Jackson, who needs who more right now? Like, who needs this extension more?
Baltimore definitely needs it more.
Yeah, I mean, he's an MVP quarterback. I mean, as much as we want to knock the guy and say that he can't throw the ball, and all these other little memes will come out about Lamar's wide receivers leaving him and shit like that.
He's still an MVP quarterback.
Yeah, he's still won an MVP. You can't get that off the street. You don't get that unless you're a really, really horrible team that you want to drag through the mud for a couple of years to hopefully get a top draft pick.
And the receiving core is terrible.
That's just it. Like, and honestly, the receiving core is terrible. And you know what? They can go back to like the Chicago Bears when Rex Grossman was there, a few deep shots here and there, but really just live and die. Yeah, live and die by the run game and live and die by your defense. I like the second most injured team last year. I mean, I mentioned it many times. The Titans was the number one. The second most injured team.
And they still almost made it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Baltimore was a super injured team. They had their entire secondary was gone. They have a lot that they can certainly come back from on defense, and I think that's what they're going to do. They're just going to lean on the run in the game and run and the defensive side of the ball. So I think Baltimore really does need Lamar more than Lamar needs Baltimore. I mean, that being said, how many teams are going to orchestrate an offense that's as plain Jane as you need for Lamar Jackson to be your quarterback too, right? You have to revamp a hell of a lot.
McTavish just got another point, so I feel pretty good about my bet right now.
Maybe that's these guys in place to institute different game plans too. And like I said, they just don't have a target really, other than Mark Andrews, and now they just got rid of Marquise Brown. Like, who else?
Yeah, and I mean, they drafted a guy that's probably going to be, like a week 8 or week 9 breakout kind of player. His name's Isaiah Likely. He's from, he's just a big guy. I mean, he's exactly what you think of.
Bateman still isn't a bad wide receiver. I mean, this guy's got a wingspan that's like 7 feet friggin' long or wide. You know what I mean? Like, you get him in the end zone and throw the ball up, he's probably going to come down with it. The
thing for a guy like Bateman, he's just not like all these guys are not number ones. There's no number one to draw the coverage.
Guys.
Yeah, and he, like Bateman is fine, Duvernay is fine. Like these are all guys that would be in great position if Aaron Rodgers was your quarterback or Tom Brady was your quarterback. Like, they're trying to take a New England approach without a New England quarterback. And I think that's personally that's the route that they're going.
Yeah. Whereas New England is going the LA Rams approach from what we've seen as far as offense.
Honestly, if it wasn't for Harbaugh, I think this team would be in such a shambles. It'd be ridiculous. Like, this guy is clearly one of the best coaches in the NFL. He's kept the job for so long because through ups and downs, and I really believe that it is a New England type of situation where it's a quarterback and a coach, but it's.
Do we have a few moments to stray here off the the schedule, because I want to talk about that. I really don't think that Harbaugh is a good coach. I really don't. I'm sorry. I'm going to say a very good coach. I think that he is an acceptable coach in the NFL. I also think that he has ridden some incredibly good defenses while being there. He's a special teams guy. I mean, he's got good special teams. He's got one of the best kickers in NFL history. Let's be realistic. One of the strongest kickers in NFL. So be able to ride that a little bit too. Then be fortunate to get a quarterback like Lamar Jackson you can't game plan against. I'm not willing to put John Harbaugh up there. I think longevity is
won a Super Bowl with Joe Flacco. What the hell are you talking about?
On the back of a defense. Like, Joe Flacco had a great playoff.
Defense. It doesn't matter. Joe Flacco fucking numbers when that playoffs were incredible. The defense isn't really what won it for them. The lights went out in the middle of the Super Bowl. That's what actually won it for them.
That's what won it for them.
Anyways, it was Ray Lewis's swan song. John Harbaugh has been so consistent through all this. And, he goes from Joe Flacco, stationary quarterback, to a scrambling quarterback where it's a completely different game plan. How can you say the guy's not a good coach?
Because the run game has never changed. The run game's been the exact same.
They lost all 3 of their running backs in preseason last year.
But we talk about a consistent team. They're consistently second in their division.
They're consistently making the playoffs except for last year.
But what I'm saying is that they don't do anything that sparks any interest in me more than Cleveland does. And that's what they're never going to be. They don't.
Are you insane? Cleveland's made the playoffs like twice in the last 20 years, man.
Yeah, and what I'm talking
about, they have one playoff win since they left.
That's the worst comparison I've ever heard.
No, what I'm saying,
Cleveland. Because Cleveland has brainwashed you because they've been good for 2 years.
No,
Baltimore's been good the whole time he's been there.
I'm saying sparking interest. In the last 15 years, John Harbaugh's done a fantastic job of being second in his division. That's what I'm saying. He's a mediocre quarterback. When he had 2 bottom barrel teams in Cincinnati and Cleveland in that division for the last 15 years, he's rode that wave of being able to be second place and maybe potentially
Mike Tomlin is like one of the best coaches ever right now, and he's had to be behind him. I'm not saying he's as good as him, but I don't think he gets enough credit for keeping this team online.
Yeah,
and competitive through rebuilds and through quarterbacks and everything.
I agree that he's kept the team together. Another guy that needs to keep his team together is Matt LaFleur, and obviously losing Devontae Adams to the Raiders, big hit. But do you believe in any of these Packers receivers. Like, is Aaron Rodgers able to do what Tom Brady did for so many years with pretty? I would say probably the best 1-2 running back combination in the league right now. Can they find a way to make something happen? They're going to steamroll the division and win by, if it was baseball, they'd win by 6.5 games, no problem. But if they can make this thing happen, do they have a legitimate chance? And are they a real Super Bowl contender without any like legitimate number one receivers?
Not at all.
Not a chance.
You can't win with Alan Lazard as your best receiver. I don't want to hear about any of these other rookies. Like, I haven't seen Christian Watson enough to really judge on him, but they're saying
just came
Alan
off PUP
Lazard's their
yesterday.
number one. Yeah, I haven't seen much of him. I mean, I saw some of his college tape, but other than that, if Alan Lazard's your number one receiver, no, not a chance.
Romeo Dubas is probably going to be he's probably going to be one of their number one receivers, right? And he's a rookie.
They'll win this year like they always do, but they can't get to a Super Bowl with Devontae Adams. They sure as hell ain't getting to one without him. So
yeah.
And Josh has already pointed out for us that the Lions are going to have 2 wins against them this year. So you know what? I think they might be in trouble.
Yeah. So Josh has the Packers going 0-17, which is interesting. It's a bold take, really bold take. I think that it's going to be a pretty unique looking offense, and I think that overall the offensive in the NFL the landscape is going to change over the next couple of years. You're going to see a lot more of this college style making its way back. We've all watched football long enough to understand that these things happen in cycles, and the offense that the Packers are running is becoming a little bit more in fad. The 49ers have been running it for years. The Steelers have just adopted it. I'm interested to see if the Titans are going to try and adopt something like this, bringing in Malik. I mean, it might not be this year, but do you see the Titans going this direction where you're running a lot out of shotgun and you're running a lot of misdirections, and maybe Hassan Haskins, who's probably going to be your number 2 like spelling running back in Tennessee? Like, do you see these guys go in this direction, or are they jumping on the bandwagon here?
Well, I mean, a lot of the money was invested in the last couple of years into defense. Like, they certainly haven't invested the money in offense in the last few years outside of Derrick Henry, right? They let AJ walk, they let Conklin walk, they let other offensive linemen. Roger Saffold got cut this offseason, where they went and invested the money in all defense, right? So I think that they are certainly beginning to trend that. Like, Tennessee's run the ball, one of the heaviest running teams in the league for the last decade, right? So I certainly think that they're going to continue that path. And I don't know about a shotgun, if that's really the route that they're going to end up taking, because Henry likes to have that run of the line, and Hassan Haskins too. I mean, big body guy, and he's a good spellback, but he likes to have that run of the line too. It's a different type of running back that can be successful out of shotgun. It's very few that can actually be that type of running back.
Yeah, and I agree. But do you see Malik being an under the center kind of quarterback, or I mean, is he a 2-year pro? Like, what is the actual feeling in Tennessee? I know you're in a lot of Tennessee groups, and I mean, you're pretty dialed into the Tennessee fan base. Like, how do they feel after week 1 of preseason? And like, is everybody that's not a Titans fan hating Ryan Tannehill, and the Titans fans are cool with him? Like, where are we at?
Well, I think it's funny, all that the non-Titans fans, really lighting the fire here about Malik, whereas a lot of the Titans fans are going, pump the brakes. I mean, the coach comes out and gets asked, why'd you pull him in the second half of the first play? And the coach says we wanted him to throw the ball, and he didn't throw the ball, so we took him out and put Logan in there. I mean, right. You mentioned before we came on here, he's got to learn how to throw inside of 5 seconds. He can't do that. He can't rely on his legs all the time. He made some great plays. He certainly escaped the pocket and made Kyle Hamilton. I mean, that was fantastic to make that guy look regular, right? But that's always going to happen. That's a guy who is still learning angles in pursuit, and in the NFL, you don't have that. This year, Wyatt, the guy who does the Titans repeat reporting, he said that Vanderbilt has come out and been very open about the fact that this is a redshirt year. There's no intention of playing Malik in any type of wildcat packages or anything. They're going to carry 3 quarterbacks, and he'll never see the field. So I would like for that to happen. I mean, guys, I love him. I was so hyped when he got him because he's just a McNair 2.0, but the guy needs a lot of work too, right?
And that is the comparison that keeps getting drawn, is the McNair thing, and like whether that's because it's a Tennessee quarterback or their builds or like their frames are similar, the way that they play the game is similar. I don't know if it's just too easy to draw that comparison because you can picture McNair in the Titans uniform for.
He's got about 150 more injuries to go before he can be compared to McNair.
yeah.
And he's got to start wearing the bulletproof vest, right?
The flat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Flat jacket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, because it's time, like it. Look, you guys have heard me talk about this for a long time. Uh, I told you from jump, free agency, they signed Trubisky. He's the starting quarterback. You knew that I was excited on draft day. Kalen, you were there. Liam was around. Like we were all watching the draft together. We all checked that thing out. But we know that Shane feels like Trubisky's the starting quarterback. Kenny Pickett is not going to play in the year 2022, barring some sort of injury. Now, the ovation that this guy got coming off the bench was unreal. And I want to know, can you guys imagine, like, he's not a hometown hero because he's not from there, but a guy that was a college quarterback that gets traded or gets drafted by his local NFL team, and just the local fan base, like a sold out preseason crowd, standing ovation, his entire Pitt Panther team in the crowd in uniform standing up. Like, have you guys ever seen anything like that in the preseason? Am I being a homer right now? Like, I honestly have not. I was watching. I was like, this is fucked. I was watching it with my son. I was like, but like, this isn't normal. I've never seen anything like this before in my life.
I think Buffalo was like Buffalo got pretty crazy, but it was in hometown. That was the only thing. Buffalo got pretty crazy for their rookie quarterback and Josh Allen when he got there, but he wasn't hometown, man. There's something different about that vibe, right?
I honestly saw it a little bit just with the Raiders Hall of Fame game, just because Josh McDaniels is from Canton, Ohio, or just outside of it. Yep. So it's the first time that anybody, friends or family or anybody like that had small time has been able to really see him coach since he's been in the league. So I kind of saw it a little bit, not as much with that though. And there's got to be something said for that, man. Like if you're a guy that can handle the pressure, if you're a guy that thrives under the pressure, then this is a big deal for them because this could be the extra little nudge that he needs to be successful in the NFL. Is playing at home in front of friends and family, and it could be it goes either way, right? You either crumble under that and you don't want to play in front of people, or you want to and you thrive it and you actually go to a new level just because you have that extra confidence and extra support around you. So yeah, it's pretty cool to see, and hopefully he just takes it and runs with it.
Do you think Lemieux called Roethlisberger and said you should have this guy room with you like I did with Sid, show him around town for a bit?
Yeah, really, eh?
Yeah.
No, well, that worked out.
Right? Yeah. Might be a Pittsburgh thing. I don't know.
Yeah. And so the thing about Pickett is like rookie for sure, but he's going to be 25 when the season starts, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, even at 25, he's just a little bit more mature than we would expect from a quarterback. Like Ben Roethlisberger took the field at 21 in Pittsburgh. You just start thinking of the ages of some of these guys. Like generally it's 21, 22 when you're taking it. Joe Burrow took the field as 23. Just the thought that this guy is 2 years older than Joe Burrow was taking his first snap. And it's not like he was out of college football or anything. He's just his early birthday. He's just out there. He's doing what he's got to do. The guy smashed a lot of Pitt Panther records, and I said it on the show, and I'll say it again. The Steelers were never going to let this guy slide past them in the draft because the last Pitt Panther quarterback that they let slide past him in the draft turned out to be
who was it?
Dan Marino was the last Pitt Panther quarterback that slid past Pittsburgh in the draft in the first round. That was a first round pick. And like I said, there was just no way it was going to happen. This guy is a storybook. It's out there. It makes sense. But it's Trubisky's year. Mason Rudolph, put your house up for sale right now. It is time to get the hell out of town.
Bye-bye, buddy.
Yeah.
So you can come be the backup in Detroit.
Yeah. I mean, if he's looking for something part-time to do, becoming a better with Coolbet Canada is always very important. If you use the Goin for 2 promo code, they're going to double your money. Right now, I use the Coolbet exclusive bet, which is Team Canada minus 1.5 plus Mason McTavish to have 2 points. Mason McTavish already has 2 points. It's 5-1 Canada. That bet looks very secure. Again, check out Coolbet Canada. Rick, I feel like everybody has. Go ahead.
I didn't want to get off your Pittsburgh game there. You didn't want to talk about that wide receiver that everybody's second guessed that just happened to have a fantastic game?
Georgie P.
Yeah.
Hey,
Pickens, man. I mean, everybody
I
knew he was
said-
going to blow up, right? His mentality was a little off, but holy shit. I know it's preseason. The guy has not skipped a beat since playing in college. It looks like he's ready to take the top off of offenses. Having him and Claypool 1 and 2, or maybe 1, 2, and 3 with Deontay Johnson. Wow. I mean,
Whoa.
Pittsburgh has never had a scary offense in a long time. That's a scary offense. I don't care who's that quarterback, bro.
Well, I mean, you mix in Pat Fryermuth out there just as like a tight end, and Miles Boykin, who many people probably don't even know plays for the Steelers, but he got waived by the Ravens, which
Oh, that's the guy I was all
is
over last year in
absurd.
preseason, but they never used him.
Yeah, and look, the guy's a big body Notre Dame guy. He's only 25 years old. He's 6'4", 225. You put that guy, within the 30-yard line, he's the touchdown guy. And they have way too many weapons on offense not to be a scary team. And that's why if for some reason you're a gambler, such as myself, you want to go and find those win totals, because right now they have the Steelers win total at 7.5 at plus money. So that is absolutely silly. Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season. This team, I can tell you, is better than the team that they've had for the last 3 years. They finally have a quarterback that can move around a little bit. Love Roethlisberger. I would have accepted him as my quarterback again this year, but the team has moved on. The offense is going to look different. Najee Harris is going to rush for 1,700 yards. I already told you George Pickens is going to be the rookie of the year. It's just happening. Yeah. It's happening. We've talked a shit ton about our teams, and we have ignored the Las Vegas Raiders. So it is time to check in with Rick on a little bit of Raiders talk. They got a new number one. I think that this might be the best Raiders team that we could imagine since Rich Gannon took them to the Super Bowl and just got fisted by the Bucs, right?
Yeah.
This has got to be better than that team.
Let's just not forget that game started with a Charles Woodson interception, okay? But anyways, I've said it many times already. This is the most excited I've been for a Raiders season since high school. It's we've had some decent teams the last few years, but as much as I love John Gruden, I was kind of like, this guy's, it's great to have him. He's a face and stuff, but I felt like he was holding the team back still. And getting a guy like Josh McDaniels, I still can't be more happier. And I just found out today that Rob Ryan is back as a defensive consultant this year with the team. He's got the best hair in the NFL still. So Rob Ryan.
He also he carries Derek Carr's makeup bag too. So he plays a very important role on the team.
Oh, and Derek Carr's slacking on his hair dye, but it's okay. Having him back around in the years that the Raiders were terrible, one of the things that we were good with was Rob Ryan as our defensive coordinator. He was pretty much the only thing good at that point with our team. But we played the Vikings yesterday. We're still sitting pretty much all starters. I don't know how much I agree with it, but hopefully we play some snaps come through preseason game. But once again, the offense looks sharp. Didn't matter who was at running back. Didn't matter who was at receiver. Demarcus Robinson caught a couple passes yesterday, which was nice to get him involved with the offense. Keelan Coles looked great at receiver in a backup role. Jared Stidham didn't throw a touchdown this time. He did rush for one. He was very conservative again, no interceptions. Nick Mullins, I'm happy to have him as the second or third string quarterback because he beat us with the 49ers last year or 2 years ago as a backup. The guy can clearly sling it around.
You probably want him to be the two, right? You want him to be the two, I would think. Like, you probably want him to back up Carr, right? And Stidham could be
I would, yeah, but Stidham's looked so good, too. Like, the battle seems to still be open for the second quarterback position. So, with Stidham coming from New England, he's got a fair shot to start or be the second role as well. But either one of them I'm happy with. It's better than any backup we've had in the last couple of years. I think Nathan Peterman's been our backup the last couple of years. For some reason, John Gruden had a hard on for him. I don't know why.
He's still on the team, though, isn't he? I think he ran in for a touchdown the other day, didn't he?
Peterman?
Yeah, I think he's on a team.
I think Peterman's engaged to Gruden's daughter.
Yeah, he must be. He's a practice squad guy, regardless. I like the rotation at running back looks good. Defensive line is looking good, and the lack of penalties is looking good. And I don't know who watched Top 100 last night, but the Raiders have 4 players in like the top 50, which is like our top 100, and we're at 50 now. So already top 4 players that to have Max Crosby, Chandler Jones, Devontae Adams, and Darren Waller. and Derek Carr. We haven't even got to Devontae Adams yet. We haven't had that many people in the top 100 like since I can remember. So Hunter Renfrow still to come there, and Devontae Adams still to come. We haven't seen any of these guys play yet, so it's really kind of hard to judge the way the offense is going to look. But I trust the process. We're 2-0. There was another good preseason game, and everybody's writing us as last in this division. And I think a lot of people are going to be surprised big time. Get on CoolBet and jump on the Raiders, because I swear to God, the payoff on the Raiders to win that division this year is going to be huge. And KC is not getting better. And the Chargers, I still think we're as good as the Chargers, if not better. And I still think we're better than Denver. So, I think it's a really good shot. If we can win those games against KC, I really believe the Raiders have a chance to win this division. And I'm pretty sure the odds are pretty fat for that. So, I'll hop on it.
And you know what, Rick, I agree with you. And there was a question that I was going to ask on here, and I mean, we're going to skip ahead a little bit, but we're gonna just say, what is the best division in football? And the best division in football, because you were just talking about it, and it's what I had in my mind, but for all the reasons you just said, I would not fall over on the floor if the AFC West had 4 teams in the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
The same way that we said going in that it wouldn't surprise me if there was 4 teams from the AL East in baseball that made it into the playoffs. Now, I mean, the AFC West seems like it's a much more secure bet, but right now I'm going to say that the AFC West, without a single regular season game being played, on the eyeball paper test, is the best division in football. So I'm curious if anybody disagrees.
It's kind of hard to, right? Like I say, guaranteed 3 teams make it to playoffs out of that division.
I could still say the NFC West as well could also do some challenging there. I know that Seattle is a weak team, and I'm not going to say that, but the other 3 there are certainly, formidable opponents for sure.
One of the most competitive divisions, but not as.
I'm still not buying Broncos, bro. I know I have said that they've got their wide receivers set down, but they lost one again, I think, Race. I don't know how long Patrick is down for.
He's done for season. He's done for the season.
He's done for season again. So this, I did like the Broncos, the fact that they had an offense in place for Russell to go to, but I still am not buying Broncos site, man.
Yeah,
not buying the Broncos site. Yeah.
But still 3. I say it was 3 definitely make the playoffs out of that.
I personally think that the Chargers are going to win the division, and it might come down to like a week 17 or 18 game and like an in-division game that comes down to it. But I would say it goes Chargers, Chiefs, Raiders, Broncos. And I think that like Chargers, Chiefs, Raiders are playoff locks. And
those
the Broncos,
division games are going to be so huge. Like they're going to be so huge. Those early division games in the AFC West are going to be so huge. And there's not a lot of early games in the NFL. You can overcome stuff, but in that division, I don't know the schedule off the top of my head, but those early divisions in the AFC West are going to be huge games to really decipher who's going to be coming first and second in that division. Because if you get off to a nice start and you go 3-0 in your division, hot out of that, like you're going to put yourself in a real nice position.
Right, and I think the important part is to note like red hot football, because when you think red hot football, you also think of our friends over at the Hot Sauce Co. And the Hot Sauce Co., if you go on their website and you use that Goin for 2 promo code, you're going to save 15% off your order. And I can announce that because I was speaking to the owner today, later this week, we will be picking up our first batch of Goin for 2 hot sauce, and we will be distributing that. So watch out for that. It's got a beautiful logo on it. Great, fantastic taste. All local Ontario farmers. Sorry, Rick, we didn't include any of those Calgary farmers, but I'm sure it's still going to taste delicious.
That's all we need.
Yeah, we will send you out a nice bottle, and you can pour that all over your beef, and you're going to love it.
Yes.
Small little change of football pace, and it's because we're all football fans, not just NFL fans, but everybody has to take note of this kid in BC, Nathan Rourke, and what he's been doing. And look, he's been a storyline for a long time. BC has turned their entire program around. BC looks like they're going to be one of those teams that are fighting for the Grey Cup. But after watching this come from behind victory in Calgary, it's time to start talking about this guy as maybe an NFL quarterback, correct?
Oh, 100%. 100%. You can't, like I said, I would hear, like I get to watch him quite a bit. That's obviously because, we're right next to BC. And obviously heartbreaking loss for the Stampeders. Luckily, I'm an Argos fan, so it didn't bother me that much. But you know, you got to start looking at this guy's numbers, you know, because it's crazy. Like, you know, I'm looking at it here now. He's gone over 400 yards 3 times this year, over 300 3 times. You know, like he's throwing like 5 touchdowns, 3, 4, like every game. And you know, the 4-quarter comebacks. As a Raiders fan, we know Derek Carr's great at 4-quarter comebacks, so I love those. And you know, Nathan Rourke has battled back. Like I think they were down 37-21. The Stampeders are a fantastic football team. And, you know, this guy seems to be pulling it out of the hat. This team was not very good last year, and he has completely turned it around. Will he be good in the NFL? Who knows? You know, like I said, I think the last good quarterback to come from the CFL was like Jeff Garcia. That was actually successful, but it can happen, and it does happen.
Yeah.
And, you know, there has to be somebody eventually, and for it to be a Canadian dude on top of that makes it even cooler. But if you actually watch the guy play, this isn't just like, you know, they're CFL, they're putting up a lot of chunk yards and stuff. Like this guy's making throws. He's getting out of the pocket. He's got a quick release. He's very accurate. Yeah, he throws a few picks here and there. But, you know, they're picks where he's trying to make a play. And, you know, I got no problem with an interception here and there when, you know, somebody is throwing for 500 yards and 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns when they're trying to make a play, you know. So,
well,
you know, the possibility's there.
It's not going to surprise you who his favorite quarterback in the NFL all time is.
Got to be Brett Favre.
Oh, 100%. It's Brett Favre. This guy, I watched an interview with him on Overdrive, and this guy is a big Packers fan, grew up watching Brett Favre. He says Aaron Rodgers is also like a guy that he looks up to. But take his talent, the way that he plays, and drop it onto an NFL roster. Give me a place that he can compete, because I have one in my mind, but I'm curious. Each of us are going to pick a place that he can compete on an NFL roster and maybe a 2, find his way on to become the starter.
Just takes a few hour drive south and goes to Seattle. It's an easy transition for him right there, right? I mean,
okay.
It's not far for him. I mean, it's an offense that can certainly be designed around him. He's got a baller wide receiver there that he can certainly throw the ball to. Tyler Lockett is absolutely no slouch. He's one of the best route runners in the NFL, so we could certainly take an advantage there. I don't like my question here is, you know, I always find it funny with the NFL or the CFL quarterbacks that struggle when they get to the NFL, because these CFL quarterbacks got to play in a wider field. Like they have to throw the ball further to the hash marks and potentially get picked on by a DB who's sitting out there in zone, right? I know that, like, you know, the game gets faster as you condense it, but like, think of this: if this guy could throw it as powerful as he is, I'm just always been so surprised that Canadian or the CFL good quarterbacks struggle so much to get to the NFL, especially when they get an extra down too. You know?
Right, exactly.
It's just a different game, man. Like the field's wider, but that allows you to do those deep out routes and stuff like that. In the NFL, like you try to run an out route on the outsides like that, if you don't put the ball right on the money, you're picked off to the house. If you do it in the CFL, like you could drift the ball so much further on an out route than you can on an out route in the NFL. And obviously, yes, you get more downs, but it also means there's more running. It also means it's more of a condensed defense. A lot of CFL quarterbacks don't even train to make the NFL. They just they're just like, I'm just going to be a CFL guy, you know, and that's just kind of how they do it. But, you know, every once in a while, somebody does come along that, you know, has the arm power and has the pizzazz, you know, and has that fire that you can see that it takes to be an NFL quarterback. And, you know, we all know, like, how good as Bo Levi Butthole is. That's what I call him. You know, how good he was. He lasted all of like 2 weeks. You know, he came running back with his tail between his legs, because that guy, I said all along, he's not as good as anybody thinks he is at all. He throws way too many interceptions. He leaves way too many balls in the air. Doesn't have enough zip on the ball. And watching Nathan Rourke, like, I'm super impressed with the guy, and just his attitude and his interviews and everything. Like, he really seems like he has something there. Like you said, if you want to say a team, like hopefully Aaron Rodgers breaks his leg this year and Jordan Love doesn't work out, and he can just drive down there and play for the team that he watched growing up.
Yeah, and
so is he a free agent after this year? Like, he has no contract with BC after this year?
Well, even if you have a contract in the CFL, you can go play in a different.
Oh, you can just go. There's no okay.
Yeah, they have the right still if he comes back, but yeah, you could leave whenever you want, pretty much.
I mean, I could see this guy jumping on Via Rail and coming all the way down to Windsor and jumping on the Ambassador Bridge and going over and playing in Hard Knocks 2.0. He's the kind of guy that looks like a city can get around. And I don't know him personally. I've only seen him in interviews, and I've seen the way he conducts himself on the field. Like he seems like a Detroit guy to me. He seems like he'd be okay in Detroit.
Wait, you don't like Sunshine? Sunshine's not enough for Detroit right now.
No, he could walk in and be the backup, like David Blau and Boyle or aren't those guys. I'm not saying he'd walk in and start, but if you give him at least a chance, Jared Goff is on his for sure final string. If he doesn't play well this year, he's done. They'll either draft a quarterback. They could bring in a guy like Rourke, maybe not to start, but maybe to compete for a job. That's what they could do. The one other team I was going to mention is like maybe even the Jets with Zach Wilson hurt. What if you bring in a Nathan Rourke, even if it's not this year, if Wilson has injury problems? Why not give him a chance?
Yeah, no, and that's fair. And look, the draft next year is in Detroit, so why would you set up a quarterback that is going to be probably like a first or second overall pick? I mean, sorry, Josh. Like, let's be realistic here. We're talking about a Detroit team that's probably going to win 4 or 5 games. So I mean, they're going to have a top 5 pick. So do you really want that quarterback to be one of those guys that has that much pressure on his shoulders when you can go into the free agent pool and just bring in Rourke and just bring another piece around him and he comes out and I mean Goff is still your starter next year, but you bring him out and he's that cute little story, but maybe 2-3 years down the road he's the guy in Detroit. Like I can get behind that storyline. It makes too much sense to me.
Yeah,
it does.
I would go the other New York team though too. Like the Giants got to be an option there too. So a guy with the last name Rourke sounds like he kind of belongs in New York. So
forget about it.
New York.
Forget about it. But I'm not a big Danny Dimes fan at all. I think Zach Wilson still has more potential than he does. So I think the Giants are desperately in need of a quarterback. It always opens up. Spots always open up. Hopefully he goes the spot if he does go where he doesn't get buried on the depth chart where a lot of CFL guys do, and hopefully he really gets a shot. And if he doesn't, I'm sure he'll do just fine in the CFL. But he looks like he's got what it takes right now. That's what I could say.
I mean, you got the buzz, and you got to follow the buzz if it's there. And I hopefully like the locker room is strong enough in BC to realize that if he wants to go and like give this thing a go, and he flunks out and comes back, like it's not looked at as he's like a turncoat or like anything like that. Like I would assume that the BC locker room is better than that, and they're not going to hold this thing against them.
They always let guys. They let Bo Levi Butthole leave too, and then he came back, and nobody had a problem with it. And the only thing that does kind of concern me is he's just over 6 foot. In the CFL, it seems to be a lot easier to play quarterback shorter because there's a yard off the ball as well. It does give you an extra half a second to get the ball off. I find offensive linemen don't tend to be as big in the CFL as they are in defensive linemen as big as they are in the NFL. So that's one thing that shorter CFL quarterbacks always have a problem with when they go is, only being 6 foot, 6'1" these days at quarterback in the NFL is kind of unheard of. Like there's not many guys that are below 6 foot.
Malik.
So, it is always a challenge.
Yeah. Well, hey, Malik is still a work in progress, and you said he's getting his redshirt year, so we'll see how that thing goes. Now,
in the CFL,
go ahead.
Pocket passers is what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Are all the teams in the CFL, are they all on turf, or is anybody on grass? I can't think of it.
Yeah. Toronto plays on real grass now because they play at TFC.
Yeah, they're at BMO. Yeah.
Oh, they play. Okay. Is that the only grass team then? Or is Winnipeg? No,
Winnipeg has fake they have real grass inside the stadium. There are a few places that actually have the real grass, but most of it's still a turf. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not the turf that you're picturing, like old Astrodome turf, but
like Western turf, like that.
Yeah,
kind
exactly.
Of, it looks real, but you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, it's almost like a grass with the length.
Now, do we have any more football notes, or can we dedicate 3 minutes to baseball?
No, we're good.
Okay, so for a quick baseball note, and I already kind of dropped it on you guys, but I'm going to say it again. The Dodgers went on a historical betting run where they won 14 straight games by the run line, which means they won 14 straight games by two or more. That ended in Kansas City yesterday. Now, with the loss of Walker Buehler, any worry about the Dodgers moving forward?
No,
I don't think so.
Yeah, the only team you had to worry about was the Padres, who didn't get off to a hot start after they got Soto, and now you've lost Tatis for the rest of the season, right? So, like, who are you worrying about in the NL? Like, I really don't think there's anybody. I think
I'm telling you, there's a team in the NL that nobody wants to play in the playoffs,
Oh,
and Rick is gonna get on my ass about this.
I know.
I
Did. I almost tried to put up on a T for him to mention it too in the NL.
But
go ahead.
But yeah,
who's that team?
So how could you want to play the New York Mets in a playoff series when you're going every other day or every day, and you got Jacob deGrom, you got Max Scherzer, and you got Taijuan Walker, and that lineup isn't bad. They can score runs. They're not bad defensively. Like, that's not a team that you want to play in the playoffs.
You know what? I do agree with you, but then I look at the bats of LA, and they're walking there going, "We can hit off anybody. It's cool."
Yeah,
Have you seen Jacob deGrom like
the way Scherzer
first two
pitched the other
starts?
night? Scherzer pitched absolutely incredible the other day. It was a few nights ago. He only get like a 2-hitter through 8 innings or something like that. Yeah, like what this guy keeps doing at his age is very impressive. Obviously, deGrom back now is incredible. I think I've heard they've turned like the most double plays in the league or in the NL or something like that as well. So the defense is clearly stellar. Hey, like the Dodgers are incredible. Like hopefully that's the playoff series we get. But you know, you can't take away losing your ace is still a big deal. And we all know that Clayton Kershaw can get jacked up at any time. And they just traded Mitch White, and you know, and you know, on top of that, like it's that's still a loss. You know what I mean? So it's.
I agree. No, here's why I say that I don't think they're going to skip a beat. Trevor Bauer was not their ace by any means, but he was certainly ace 1.0 or 2.0, whatever you want to call on the list.
He's an ace, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, they lost him, and they lost him pretty quickly, right? And it's a team that was able to bounce back from that, and they built still from that. Like they've been able to put more players on the roster. So that's why I'm not scared.
One thing that they brought in that they don't have anymore, and it's a guy that we just mentioned that's playing for the Mets, and that's Max Scherzer. And they brought in Max Scherzer because of the Bauer situation, and they made a big deal to get him in there. 162 game season, the Dodgers are the far better team. I would place my money on them getting more wins 10 times out of 10. But you put them into a 7-game series against that pitching staff. And if we're looking at the NLCS and we're looking at the Dodgers and the Mets, first of all, we're blessed that that's going to be the NLCS if that's the case. But we're looking at the NLCS. I think that the Dodgers are worried, and I think the Dodgers are worried that if Jacob deGrom goes on a run.
You can't count out the Braves though either. You know, the Braves won the World Series last year without their 3 starting fielders.
Talking about teams that were able to overcome injuries or whatever.
Yeah, like the Braves have done it without the players. They still have a great record right now, and you know, I didn't think the Braves had a chance to win the World Series last year without the players they had. Didn't have, I should say. So you know, that's a team obviously I wouldn't want to ever play in a 7-game series right now either. Just because they got the experience, they've been there already and done it, and they got a great coach. So you know, but you know, it's going to be fun baseball playoffs. That's all I know.
Yeah, and Rick, one day I'm going to introduce you to a guy that made a bet on the Atlanta Braves winning the World Series in June last year. His name is Cottage Shane, and he likes to have fun. And he made a decent chunk of money on that last year. All right, so really quickly, we're gonna go AL East because we're running out of time here. But the Yankees seem like they've faltered. The Astros look like they're going to be the number 1 seed. The Blue Jays are so Jekyll and Hyde. What are we expected from the AL wildcard here? And is there something the Jays can do to get themselves jockeyed back into position to potentially fight for the East?
Oh, God, stop swinging at balls off the plate, for fuck's sakes. It's like, I don't know who started talking to Vladdy about this Donkey Kong swing that he's been doing. But, like, you know, letting go with the bat with one hand and reaching for sliders outside of the plate. Like, I feel like I'm watching a Vladdy from 2 years ago. And when Vladdy does it, everybody does it. Then Gurriel starts doing it. Then Teoscar starts doing it. It's like, why are you guys reaching with one hand for a ball off the plate? Like, the pitching hasn't been great, but the hitting hasn't been good either. And it's like we had that huge stretch where we looked like we could hit a beach ball, like anything was a beach ball. And now it's like guys are just taking their eye off the ball. I think it's just go back to basics. We have a team that can win. Yeah, the pitching isn't exactly where it needs to be, but it's good enough. And the batting needs to perform the way it did in those first few games after John Schneider took over. And we need to get back to the basics and get our heads out our ass and stop swinging at garbage like we've been swinging, and we'll be all right.
Well, I think it's really funny that Vladdy doesn't go in the home run derby because he doesn't want to mess up his swing because he didn't like what happened to him last season. And it seems like this stupid swing that you're talking about, it really kind of came about right around the All-Star break or right before that.
It's like he was practicing
like you're screwed anyway, man. You might as well have done it.
Yeah, he's practicing for the home run derby and decided not to go in at last minute. I don't know what's going on, but somebody needs to correct that real quick because it looks absolutely terrible and it looks like Vladdy from 2 years ago.
I'll tell you that the Blue Jays roster took the single greatest turn in their season to date today, and that was they DFA'd Bradley Zimmer and they reactivated George Springer, and that puts what's his face, the guy from Kansas City, as their utility guy to bounce around. He's going to make guys a guy that you're not afraid to put in the lineup that can help you with the other guys DHing, and you can give guys a day off here and there. But George Springer's bat and leadership back in the lineup obviously is
as long as he's
paramount.
ready. As long as he's
whatever his
brought
name
him back
is.
early way too many times this year. Way too many times he's been brought back early and then he hurts it again. Hopefully he's actually good to go. If not, play him at DH the rest of the year. I don't give a damn, but like stop bringing him back too early just because he wants to play and he's competitive. Because they're sick and tired of having him come back for 3 games and get hurt again. You know what I mean? It's very frustrating.
Yeah. I think he's gonna be fine, and I mean whether he plays center field or DHs, I think that they're in a better position, and they got a couple guys that are throwing heat down in Buffalo that are gonna come up and play. You know the
dog
days,
Orioles.
which
Fuck.
yeah, I mean we're basically entering the last 6 weeks of the season, which are the dog days, and anytime your team is competitive in September, it means that the guys are going to be a little bit more juiced up, but they got to make the next 16 days basically. So if they can go 10-6 in the next 16 days,
yep,
I feel pretty good about the position that they're going to be in September. And I feel really, really good about them in a series against any of those wildcard teams. Yankees and Astros are going to be a problem, but like that's the problem for October. It's not a problem for right now. So
just give yourself a chance, man. That's all we ask as Jays fans. Just get in.
Yeah. Any final thoughts before we sign off? Because we've already gone into overtime here, boys.
Oh man, I got nothing tonight. Everything's
cottage living.
All right. Hey, anytime we come on here with Rick, we should automatically just schedule an extra 15-20 minutes because we already know that we're going to get fired up and we're going to get working and we're going to keep going here. So, Rick, we appreciate you again. You know you're coming back next week.
Oh, I'm here as long as you need me, baby.
And
Can't start a fire without a spark. That's my motto.
Yeah. Josh, we love that you came on. Yo, you are getting legit, and we are happy to have you on the partnership. We're happy to have you on the team. So, Kalen, go enjoy the family at the cottage. I'm going to go crack another peach twisted. Liam, we appreciate you deal with our shit. So we'll sign off there. Check out the Instagram, Facebook, and we will be dropping that hot sauce